Well, on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, of course, we're most conscious of how storms and hurricanes impact our communities, most notably 10 years ago with Hurricane Katrina. That takes more focus than the sea level rise. However, we recognize it's an important issue, and certainly in the near term, we are experiencing nuisance flooding on a monthly and seasonal basis. We are responding now with, thanks to sea grants and some other funding, for designing living shoreline projects. It's impacting our marshes, inundating the fresh water into our marshes. So we are looking at replanting, refurbishing some of those, some with the BP Restore Act funding. We have those projects proposed. Some of our waterfront parks have eroded. We are responding by doing, again, living shoreline projects with some bulkheading and backfill and planting of natural vegetation, building dunes for some of our front beach erosion. And we'd like to be able to do much more. Inland drainways we're transforming into rain gardens, but we're not quite there yet with the total green infrastructure that I personally would like to see. We are working with our Regional Planning Commission, our Mississippi Department of Transportation, as they build and widen our highways along the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We are looking for better ways for drainage, green infrastructure, bike paths, because certainly we love these places. We're not going to abandon places we love like Ocean Springs or Miami Beach or Almirada, Florida. We love these places. We're not going to retreat, but we do have to be smart about how in the long term we're going to be sustainable. Well, I was very impressed with the mayor of Hoboken, Mayor Zimmer. She was talking about some HUD funding that she has found for green infrastructure, for retaining stormwater, delaying it, and then discharging it, because they flood 8 times since Sandy. I can't even imagine that. So we are on a high bluff in the city of Ocean Springs, but certainly our waterfront is inundated. We have to pay attention to that, how we'll be sustainable in the long run. If we have to bulkhead certain areas of our city, backfill, and hope for the best, we will do that as time comes. In the meantime, during my lifetime and for planning for the future, we'll work together with our other coastal counties on the Mississippi Gulf Coast and try also to have a unified effort using the data from EPA and NOAA and the Corps of Engineers, and be smart about how we sustain our ports and build our waterfront communities on the Gulf Coast. In the near term, what we'd like to see is a national flood insurance policy. That is the one thing that is hampering economic development along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, so definitely we need the assistance of Congress for that. That's the only way that that will happen. 50% of all population in the United States lives within 50 miles of a coastline and generates between 1/4 and 1/3 of the gross domestic product. So certainly it's very important. Our ports generate livelihoods and jobs and wealth trickling in throughout the entire economy of the United States. So that's certainly something that we have to pay attention to. Another thing we could use some help, at least in Ocean Springs or Jackson County, Mississippi, and I know this is the same case in Mobile and other parts of the Gulf Coast, is some other way to use dredge material in a more efficient manner to help replenish our sand on our beach, because it consistently erodes. It's very costly to bring in by truck. It's allowed in some places on islands. We have barrier islands as well along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, but we need to have it for our beachfronts as well. It is just too prohibitively expensive. This is certainly an issue that affects all of us, certainly regardless of party. We all have to come together and recognize that we need to do what's right as public servants for our communities. So I'm here to learn best practices from others, such as the 4 counties in Southeast Florida, which were able to come over the past 6 years and have an annual summit and discuss these issues and have reports for resilience and how to rebuild your community and build for the future using green infrastructure techniques and others that will actually contain stormwater and slowly diffuse it. These are the best practices that I've come here to learn. We have 2 other mayors here from Mississippi, Chipper McDermott from Pascagoula, Billy Hughes from the city of Gulfport. We're all very impressed, and having access to the director of NOAA, Dr. Catherine Sullivan, and all of these other experts who have been there, done that, learning about the website, the resources, and it's our job to come back to the Mississippi Gulf Coast and share that information with our other mayors, with our county supervisors, with our regional planning commissions, and make sure that we act in this direction together, that we know what to expect, and know how to build for the future. I'm just very grateful to the World Resources Institute for putting on this conference and making it possible for coastal mayors from all across America to be here today and to learn from each other and other federal representatives. Well, right now, the main thing is about the cost of insurance, because that's what is affecting people's pocketbooks. That is the number one burning issue. It's not so much about sea level rise, but it's about the cost of actually living on the coast. We have to integrate this as an issue that's just equally important and in the rebuilding process. Certainly on the coast, the solution from FEMA has been higher elevation, so if you rebuild, it has to be very high. But if you're a large urban center like Miami Beach, you can't elevate a high-rise building. So it's got to be different solutions for different types of communities. And again, if we can replenish our beaches and build sand dunes and have living shorelines or other green infrastructure, that's certainly a solution in the near term. That is certainly a solution in the near term that we can embrace. What we advocate for is a national flood insurance or a national catastrophic insurance policy that every individual would pay into, and business homeowners, and it would cover all types of major disasters such as wildfires and tornadoes and hurricanes. We already have earthquake insurance, okay, similar to that, but broader. That would make it affordable to rebuild our communities on every coast in America.